When Red Dead Redemption 2 was first announced, few doubted that its single-player campaign would be nothing short of stellar. Since the game's release, it's garnered all kinds of critical acclaim, and on top of that, the game went on to sell gangbusters, having shipped an incredible 17 million copies in less than 2 weeks, surpassing the first game's lifetime sales in an incredibly short amount of time. One aspect of the game that I've always been concerned about, however, was Red Dead Online. Take-Two and Rockstar have a track record of designing their online modes to emphasize monetization, particularly where Grand Theft Auto Online is concerned. It was hard for me to believe that Red Dead Online wouldn't follow similar footsteps, and to many people's dismay, concerns were completely warranted. When the mode launched in what Rockstar continues to label beta, there was a woeful lack of content and variety of activities to undertake. The world felt lifeless overall, and the economy was completely out of whack. Purchasable items in the game cost far too much in-game currency and/or premium currency, with weapons that cost $35 in real life back in $18.99, hilariously costing $1,000 in Red Dead Online, made worse by how the game would only award paltry sums of currency for those who partook in the few available activities, which meant that being able to afford the more coveted and expensive items could take dozens to hundreds of hours of rinse and repeating the same handful of middling activities over and over again. Backlash against Red Dead Online's economy was immediate, and it wasn't long before players expressed that the economy needs to be rebalanced if the game has any hopes of long-term viability. Rockstar did respond by issuing an update that lowered costs and bolstered rewards, but it was very much a case of the studio intentionally releasing the worst version of Red Dead Online's economy they could muster, so that when they would inevitably have to dial it down to something less egregious in response to backlash, it would be exactly where they had always intended it would be, while giving off the impression that they listened to the community. It's like if a bully told you they'd punch you in the face instead of kicking you in the balls to give off the impression that they're being merciful when the bully had always intended to punch your face in the first place. Now, things have been relatively quiet on the Red Dead Online front since that economy update, in large part because the game's failed to maintain much interest from a player base that's quickly losing patience, but the game made a big splash with their first major update, which went live a few days ago on February 26, 2019, though for all the wrong reasons. Alongside the update, Rockstar released a video detailing some of the new and enhanced features players can expect from it, advertising new competitive gameplay, daily objectives and rewards, enhanced law and bounty system, and new weapons and clothing for players to grind or pay for. Players were excited to see certain systems improved, certain issues resolved, and new content added, but it turned out that the update only served to further mar an already lackluster experience. One Reddit post in particular that blew up in the last 2 days, having garnered over 26,000 upvotes, detailed some of the biggest qualms with the new update, starting with how Rockstar nerfed the amount of money earned from hunting. For those who aren't aware, hunting is one of the best ways to earn currency in the throttled economy of Red Dead Online. The process of earning money through hunting was slow, long, arduous, and repetitive enough as it was before the update, but now, with earnings from hunting cut to half of what they used to be, players feel like Rockstar crippled one of the best sources of income. Rockstar did respond to this point of contention with the following statement. Prior to Title Update 1.06, a bug caused sales of skinned animal carcasses to be the same as a whole unskinned animal, despite the animal's parts having been already harvested. This meant players could skin the animal and sell the carcass and the parts separately to make more than intended. Sales of animals and animal products now pay out correctly. No sell prices of animal parts or whole animals have been changed. Only the value of a skinned carcass has been corrected. Well, even if that was a bug, the fact remained that players were fine with the way it used to work, and because Rockstar failed to disclose what they call fixing a bug versus what players call stealth nerfing earnings in their patch notes, it made for a rude awakening for players who relied on money earned from hunting animals. But umbrage with reduced earnings from hunting is only the beginning. This Reddit user proceeded to highlight how the newly implemented bounty system wasn't at all what players wanted. Instead of implementing a system in which players could receive money by taking on bounties involving hunting other players, what Rockstar did was make in-game activities involving NPCs incur bounties on players. An article from website Polygon specifically noted how previously inoffensive activities like barroom brawls or accidentally trampling a wandering NPC now incur bounty, and in the case of this Reddit user, killing 8 NPC cops cost them $2, which is a sizable chunk of money in Red Dead Online's economy. The new bounty system has also worsened what many consider to be one of Red Dead Online's biggest problems, griefing. Many thought the update would find ways to mitigate griefing, but instead, it managed to encourage the activity further by introducing challenges involving killing other players. For example, one of the daily challenges now is shooting 3 players in the head, which means the open world will now be rife with players hunting each other for headshots. The Reddit user also highlighted a major flaw in the current bounty system. If a player happens to shoot an assailant first in self-defense, then it's the victim who will incur a bounty and be visibly marked as a potential griefer. So to avoid falsely incurring a bounty or being marked as a griefer, players have to let assailants do damage first. Furthermore, with how the radar works now, it's very easy for griefers to get a kill in and then run away for a few minutes before they disappear from the victim's radar, which makes killing other players much less risky. Then there is the way Rockstar has been handling the implementation of new content, most of it comprised of cosmetics. For one, many agreed that much of the newly introduced clothes are poorly designed, unappealing, and downright ugly, often ridden with stains and holes despite costing quite a bit of currency and despite being so-called new clothes. More offensive is the way Rockstar is drip-feeding in the new content on a rotational basis rather than making all the new content available for players to pursue from the outset. There are literally challenges in the game that require players to kill with a certain weapon that is listed in the catalog, but that weapon isn't accessible, marked with a Coming Soon label. These Coming Soon items are definitely in the game, mind you, it's just that Rockstar is hiding them for the purposes of artificially stretching out content release. As for the new items that are available, well, it should come as no surprise that they're insultingly overpriced, particularly where emotes are concerned. Currently, emotes can cost anywhere between $100 to $300 in-game dollars, with some of them being purchasable with gold bars that players can buy with real money. To earn these emotes in-game though, it was calculated that players would have to hunt between 61 to 184 spoonbills to afford the price range of $100 to $300 in-game dollars, and that's per emote, which is a whole lot of work and grind for very little reward. Finishing off this post is mention of bounty hunter NPCs, of which there are waves of 4 or 5 of them only for a measly 5 XP and without the ability to loot them to boot, and players who manage to flee from bounty hunters aren't rewarded in any way. The Reddit user also addressed those arguing that PvP challenges can be done in PvP modes by pointing out how that doesn't change the fact that there is the option of tackling PvP challenges by griefing players in the open world, encouraging that behavior. Moving on, I'd like to highlight this other Reddit post in which the user created a satirical developer update to mock Rockstar's blunders. It begins by highlighting the myriad reported bugs that the studio hasn't fixed yet after all this time, including horse bonding levels resetting, animal carcasses despawning, various PvP glitches, stranger missions not working or starting, and many more. The post then mocked how there is still no new significant content, noting how players have been playing the same 6 story missions for the better part of 3 months, how gambling activities are still not in the game, how there are still no heists or anything new in the way of things to do, with the only new additions thus far having been a few new modes of the same exact PvP and fishing challenges that got old pretty fast. The user then made fun of how Rockstar butchered one of the most popular activities, hunting, by significantly slashing payout from carcasses and resources earned from skinning animals, and by all around just diminishing incentives, which ties into the introduction of new expensive store items that encourage players to spend real money on gold bars. So yeah, if it wasn't clear before that Red Dead Online is being designed with monetization and engagement as a priority rather than with what's fun, I would hope it's clear as day now. Very little time or thought seems to be going into things that actually matter, like implementing a well-designed bounty system to mitigate griefing, fixing persistent bugs, or adding highly requested content and features. And a whole lot of focus is being placed on ensuring players aren't earning currency adequately, and on adding more monetizable items into the shop, even if all that comes at the expense of an entertaining experience. This isn't just Red Dead Online, mind you, this right here is a perfect encapsulation of live services as a whole, which are all about finding ways to waste people's time so that they'll be strong-armed into paying to mitigate that. Live services aren't intent on shipping a feature-complete and comprehensive product. Instead, they are focused on shipping an economy on top of which a finished game can be built upon eventually. Now, I'm willing to bet that some people will defend Red Dead Online by saying that it's still in beta, but I say fuck that noise. This is the product they shipped, this is the product they're charging money for, and as far as I'm concerned, Red Dead Online has officially launched, regardless of what smoke and mirrors label is given to it. And it doesn't take a discerning eye to see that just like other live services like it, it's just not a finished game that should be out there charging money right now. And I'm not sure how much longer Rockstar and Take-Two can keep this up before they do permanent damage to future prospects. There are already reports out there suggesting Red Dead Online isn't pulling the kind of money or engagement that Grand Theft Auto Online is by a significant margin. According to research firm Superdata, Red Dead Online's revenue has been dropping month over month due to a decline in monthly active users, with GTA Online currently making 5 times the amount of money. Granted, GTA Online had years to build up its vibrant player base and managed to become incredibly successful despite a rough launch, but that's no guarantee Red Dead Online will repeat history, especially when the market of live services is far more saturated now than it was when GTA Online launched back in 2013, leaving less room for bad first impressions and loss of momentum akin to what Red Dead Online is pulling here. 3 months in, there is still barely anything to do in this game, there are hardly any cool items to pursue, the game's economy is still shit, and the latest update only made everything worse, giving players even less reason to stick around. There's also the fact that Red Dead Online has more limited appeal as a live service due to the game's time period and setting. People will be much more compelled by varieties of ground, water, and aerial vehicles they stand to earn in GTA Online than the various carriages and different colored horses in Red Dead Online, for example, which is why it's especially important for Red Dead Online to sell itself on the integrity of its game design, the comprehensiveness of its content, and the entertainment value of the overall experience. It doesn't matter how aggressively you push monetization if there aren't people interested in playing your game over a long period of time, and players are becoming increasingly disillusioned by how Red Dead Online is shaping up to be. I mean, just look at how many upvotes this diss of a Reddit post has, which features an image of Fallout 76 at the top with the quote, "makes PvP terrible and ignores fanbase," and an image of Red Dead Online below that with the response, "hold my beer." When stuff like this is getting close to 20,000 upvotes on the Red Dead Redemption subreddit, you know you've pissed off even your most loyal fans and players. If this continues, if Rockstar and Take-Two don't take drastic measures to make amends, if they keep screwing over and ignoring players, by the time Red Dead Online does finally get heists and other substantial content out there, most players may have moved on to greener pastures, to one of the many other live services out there right now fighting for people's limited time and money, and it could become a case of too little too late. These are one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on Red Dead Online's recent blunder of an update in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.